also see that the intimate cooperation with the New York Times, with the Guardian of London, and with Der Spiegel of Germany, right? These are three arch-establishmentarian, vaguely, very vaguely center-left.
Well, that's admitted. I mean, it turns out the New York Times, quote, crawled to Obama for instructions on WikiLeaks weeks before. So Assange kept saying it's coming out, it's coming out. It turns out that's why all the newspapers were going to the government saying, what do we do with this? And the government said, do it.
Right, but
I mean, that's 100% proof right there that, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Alex, you and I know that if you're coming out with some revelation that the government doesn't want, say something about 9/11 truth, you don't get the New York Times, the Guardian, and Der Spiegel cooperating with you. Der Spiegel, in particular, had a whole cover story on conspiracy fanatics who turn the world upside down, 9/11 truth, are lunatics, anti-Semites, and all the rest of this crazy stuff. Couple of other things about it. Assange claims to be a PhD, according to Madsen. This is from a diploma mill. There was at the beginning of his career, he purported to come from Kenya. He apparently does not come from Kenya. He comes from Australia. There is this strange book that he contributed to, Underground Tales of Hacking and Madmen, in which Assange appears as the character Mendax, which is simply the Latin word for a liar. So it's a very, very uncertain individual, a very, very uncertain group. They seem to work with...
so he picks the name Darth Liar. I mean, this is... boy, that tells you something.
Something like that. And it's a pattern, of course, right? Remember, ultra-left financiers of the Soros type love to sponsor ultra-left, the sort of subversive groups. You go to France, you'll see the main left-wing newspaper, Libération. The main Parisian left-wing paper is it's owned by Baron Rothschild, and there have been all sorts of scandals about that.
Well, look, I have George Soros every day with Media Matters that he's the main contributor to, and others attacking me. And basically saying I'm Satan. So this guy, I mean, we know that he's active everywhere.
Right, and then let's then look at, as you say quite properly, right? You've got to put in good information in order to get some credibility. Couple of stories about this. I was in Iceland last September, October, and I had a chance to give a lecture series in Reykjavik 5 nights in a row. I was on the main television the news program on the Sunday, right, the Blab Show. And what I was recommending and really calling on them to do is declare a debt moratorium. Freeze your debt, stop paying your debt, cancel your debt. Don't negotiate under the gun of the British and the Dutch and the IMF and the European Commission, but start by having a debt moratorium in the way that Mexico and Argentina and Brazil and about 35 other countries, down to Costa Rica, very small countries with no military, just like Iceland, have done it. And about a couple of months after I had departed, into town blows Julian Assange, who goes, strangely enough, to some of the very same people and apparently tells them, forget about this debt moratorium stuff. What we need to do here is to have this internet-free zone. In other words, a world haven for hackers, for pornographers, for other people on the internet. And let's set that up, and we'll make Reykjavik into the world mecca for all kinds of...
All right, stay there. Oh, that's Patriot Jimmy Vaughn bringing us in. Gotta get him in studio sometime to play the guitar for us. Okay, let's go back to Webster Tarpley with us for another 35 minutes. I got a bunch of other issues I want to get into him with. Let's, in this 5-minute segment, finish up with the WikiLeaks. Webster, I'm going to sit back, finish up your points.
On Iceland, and the net effect of the arrival of Assange in Reykjavik, Iceland, was to convince a whole bunch of people who had started this debt moratorium agitation, which it seems to me is the only answer for the survival of the country, and go with this gimmick, really, which was to say, let's essentially act along the Soros program. Let's set up a haven for internet hackers, for various websites from around the world. We'll guarantee no censorship or anything like this. So therefore, you see how the guy operates. Here's another one. The Norm Coleman question, right? Norm Coleman was, of course, this senator from Minnesota. In many ways, a nasty fellow. I certainly didn't like him, but there was a fight between Norm Coleman and Soros over who was going to become the president of the World Bank. And Soros had his own candidate, a guy called Ford Malloch Brown, Baron Brown, and Coleman was opposing him. So this seems to have contributed to the huge amount of money that was put into that Al Franken campaign. But in the middle of that, there was also an intervention by WikiLeaks against Norm Coleman. Right? They published his whole contributors list with the many details of the individual lives of these people. So
that's extremely suspicious.
The World Bank. So that's the idea. You gain credibility with a lot of good information, and then you can put in the fake information that targets the people that you want to target for completely different reasons. But, of course, the big thing is Pakistan, right? If you look at the London Guardian, right, which is the left wing of the British intelligence agencies, you see that their coverage focuses on two things. That the 90,000-odd documents, very low-level, secret-level, essentially routine inter-office correspondence in the government labeled secret, these say Pakistan is treacherous, Pakistan betrays the U.S., Pakistan is a bad ally, they stab us in the back, and that then is giving rise now to this huge anti-Pakistani campaign, the attacks on General Gould and others, the demonization of the ISI, and so forth. But then also Iran. The Guardian focused on Iran, that Iran is fomenting a whole array of insurgencies in their part of Afghanistan along their border, and they're going to keep doing that. So you're left with the idea. It's going to be a good idea to de-emphasize and downplay the Afghan war and look now at your real enemies in the area, who are these two big states, Iran and Pakistan. And it seems to me one of the obvious things is to play one against the other, and that's a pattern that you see. The U.S. strategy in the entire Middle East is to try to line up a group of states that would be Arab and Sunni, plus a couple of others, against Iran, which is Iranian, Persian, and also Shiite. And the big call for the attack on Iran that you can read about in my essay that I put on the internet, and you have it also on InfoWars, is that you've got the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates are they've been jazzed up by the U.S. obviously to demand the attack on Iran because this threatens them. So they're raising this hue and cry. The example, of course, is the ambassador from the United Arab Emirates in Aspen, Colorado, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, who went into a public tirade. We demand an attack on Iran immediately. What is this? We're willing to take the cost. You Americans get busy. This was at the Aspen Ideas Festival. So all of this going on, and the WikiLeaks feeds right into this agitation just at the proper moment.
It's all very suspicious. Stay there, Webster.